Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the In Focus podcast. And today is episode 2, where we will be speaking on Pixar Animation Studios. Very prominently, it's the 30th anniversary since Toy Story's release, and nearly 39 years since the initial Pixar short movie came out. So, yeah, celebrating a long history of Pixar Animation Studios. Today, we've got the charismatic gentleman Alex and Sean joining us as always to talk through everything Pixar, our early memories of the studios, the films that shaped our childhood, how they've developed and I guess evolved over time, really, to the point where they're now Disney's takeover of the studios and what's to come in the future. So yeah, let's get into it, gents. What do you want to kick off first? First memories, early understandings of Pixar when they first came into.
Start with the short they did before Toy Story, because I'm not really aware of it. I don't really know much about it. You guys got any memories of it? What it was?
Well, they did quite a few, really. I don't remember the early ones. The first time I remember coming onto the shorts actually was when Toy Story released, and I'm pretty sure they did a VHS of the shorts that they'd already made at that point. And the ones that really stick out and the ones that I remember are there's two of them. So there was Knick Knack, which was a snowman stuck in a snow globe trying to escape. And then there was Jerry's Game, which is an old dude playing chess against himself, evidently, as it turned out. They're the ones that really stuck out to me. I think Knick Knack was
Knick Knack was, I think, it was
89.
before Toy Story, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1989. Very, very early, obviously, in the studios.
And when you say short, are we literally talking like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes kind of thing?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I think Knick Knack's probably maybe that 3-4 minutes. Something along those lines. I think Jerry's Game might be a little bit longer because it was after Toy Story. So the obviously the technology and such had improved by then, and you can see that there's a massive jump when you watch Knick Knack and you see just the animation, the visuals, the characters that they were able to use. I mean, it was very basic. There was nothing going on in the background. There was no real background there to interact with. It was just everything was in the forefront, and the characters were very, very limited. But
it really
was very fun.
Just testing it, I guess, isn't it? Trying it bit by bit.
Yeah. It was a bit sexual as well.
Was
Knick
it?
Knack. Yeah, because it was literally this
Hawaiian
snowman. Yeah. The snowman stuck in the snow globe, and then he sees this sexy Hawaiian girl or mermaid or something in another snow globe, and it's just him basically for like 3 minutes trying to break out any way he can to get into this other snow globe with this
Just
big-titted
ravish Knick Knack.
Yeah, basically.
But again, sign of the times, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite a racy title when you think of it.
Knick Knack.
Knick Knack.
Yeah.
I think Jerry's Game was the short before A Bug's Life.
Yeah. So it came out after
On
Toy
VHS,
Story, but before.
I don't know about the cinema.
Yeah. It came out in 97, Jerry's Game, and then A Bug's Life was 98.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
And then the same, I don't know if do you remember the short?
I remember some of them. I can't remember the name of it, but I think it was the first one where they first pioneered the sort of CGI technology to make shapes bend and move to create speed. It was a character, I can't remember its name, being chased by a bee, but the bee sort of like was obviously chased it went like that. So that was like its first sort of flex of the technology, really. I think it was only a minute long. It could have been Pixar's first real showcase of the technology that they could create. I think it was under John Lasseter, who went on to do.
Did he do?
Toy
Yeah, he
Story.
did, didn't he?
Yeah. He did a couple more as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was obviously early days Pixar.
I mean, they're probably just showing that to like business partners for for funding and to
what we
progress to the next level and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Steve Jobs was heavily involved back in the day, wasn't he? Am I right? I think he's responsible for selling it to Disney. Was he? Or getting Disney on board?
Quite possibly.
Yeah. that was very unprofessional.
But it was quite. I guess it was quite. I mean, obviously the technology was revolutionary, but it must have been like quite difficult to sell it to the big studios. I mean, obviously, like the first shot that they did was in '86, and it took till '95 to obviously get Toy Story out. A couple of years would have been, developing and actually creating the film. But yeah, it must have been a big gamble, I guess, for studios and production companies to actually trust that a fully animated film could actually take off and do well. And I think obviously Pixar, they shaped it. I think DreamWorks Studios came out similar sort of time or just after Pixar.
Yeah.
In terms of feature length, obviously Shrek came out in, was it 99, 2000, and they may have had a couple of more films before that.
You always kind of get like this thing where you have like two like the rival companies, so to speak, and it's like a bit of a space race, if you will.
Yeah. I think it's definitely needed.
DreamWorks.
Yeah.
So that was Bug's Life, wasn't it?
That was straight off, like you said.
Yeah. Well, that I think that came out around about the same time as A Bug's Life, didn't it? Don't know if it was 97 or 98. And again, I think it's a funny sort of theme that you see in Hollywood, like two similar films being released by two different production companies. Even in the animation world, it happens with The Bug's Life and Ant. So yeah, it's very interesting.
I think it's healthy to do because obviously you kind of push each other in a way, don't they?
Yeah.
Any great sport, I guess. Okay, so I guess let's start with like Toy Story. What are like
first memories?
Yeah, your first like personal memories of it. Again, I'm trying to think. Like what 95? I'd have been 7. Yeah, I'd have been 7. Yeah, I can do it.
6. Yeah, I would have been 6.
But so again, very very vague memories of just like the like pure basics of wow, some guys flying around and there's a cowboy.
Hey, Buzz! You're flying! This isn't flying. This is falling with style. To infinity and beyond!
I mean, the fact that I have I only have a few very vivid memories of it, but the fact that I have them from such an early age does show like it was like obviously never seen anything like that before, and it was totally different to cartoons. Obviously straight away fell in love with Woody and Buzz.
Yeah, it was the first fully CG film, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
over a feature length.
And you know what? It's just okay. Take all that aside, and like not a gimmick, but the fact that it's animated and stuff at its core, it's a damn good film, and like you can tell the script, the characters, everything is just like it's a worldly of a film, and rightly so. You could argue it's one of the best like CGI films ever made. And to me, it definitely is. Anyway, it's so impactful and revolutionary, but at the same time, it was a great film, and I suppose all those legendary films have that, don't they?
Yeah,
it's like
there wasn't riding the gimmick of the technology. The technology was there to tell the story.
Yeah, and that was it.
Is the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not like we could do this and we can do that. It's right. Okay, we make animated films. We want to tell this story. We've got these themes we want to convey in it. Blah blah blah. And it's just. But yeah, I mean, it's like
the call. That's what Pixar always was, wasn't it? They were just great storytellers. The fact that they did it with animation films, a bonus for us, obviously growing up in our generation, and still now, as adults, you still appreciate it. And I think the good thing that Pixar are able to do, and other animation studios, is they're able to blend between sort of a target audience of like children, young kids and adults. You come away from it, whether you're a kid and you pick up certain things and you understand it from that perspective, and then when you grow up, you watch it again and you pick up like completely different lens. Like the emotion and the story. You've got the camaraderie between Buzz and Woody and their love for Andy. So you definitely appreciate it as an adult and as a kid, and they've just managed to do that throughout pretty much every film I think they've ever released. Really, they've always carried those great stories and that great emotion.
That's their core, isn't it? I mean, like for me personally, I get in a way I definitely don't look at them as kids' films. To me, they're like family films, and in like the sense that family, they're for every member of that family. There's a lot for everyone to take from that, and families connect over it, and probably share some, everyone shares really tender moments with each other watching Pixar films. I cry at pretty much every one of them. Yeah. You're supposed to
But another thing about Toy Story, I think the cultural impact of it. What?
I was just going to say, I thought you were going to say Bo Peep's fit.
You would, right?
Well, yeah. That's kind of like unspoken. So go on, cultural impact. Toy Story poem.
Yeah, the cultural impact of Toy Story, and therefore Pixar, seeing it as their sort of maiden feature, really, seeing as it was not just designed for kids, obviously it was for adults as well, but the I think we'll all remember the toy line and the craze and the buzz about trying to get a Buzz Lightyear and a Woody toy. It was literally life replicating art, because that was the number one toy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Buzz Lightyear. And
Did you have one?
I got one eventually.
Yeah,
but I was dying to get one.
Yeah, I don't remember having them initially, so I don't know if that says something about my parents. I think I was just watching it on repeat basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I have Woody today. He's in the bedroom with his little
I have
cowboy
Woody every morning.
enjoying his quesadillas. Yeah, I guess that's kind of wasted on the audience. That's a very in joke. Sean basically didn't know what quesadillas were today. So.
No.
That's what I tea.
Every day's a different day.
I'm only 35.
Enjoying it while it lasts.
I think it was pretty spectacular as well to think of the cast that they managed to get together for Toy Story as well. I mean, and
To
you
convince
think of obviously Tom Hanks and
Tim Allen.
Yeah, both in the pomp really in the mid-90s as well. To get them on board was massive.
They got Santa. They got the Santa Claus. Yeah,
the actual Santa Claus.
Yeah,
and Forrest Gump.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a gamble, wasn't it? It was a completely new concept, so yeah it really was something getting them.
Could you argue that Toy Story is Tom Hanks' biggest film, or at least his most iconic?
You could
Probably
argue.
not. I don't know. I don't think it's his. I don't think it's his most iconic.
No.
I don't know if it's his biggest, from a revenue perspective.
I don't know.
You think of obviously Forrest Gump and Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, I know there's a lot, isn't there?
Yeah, he's been.
Have you guys ever
involved
seen the clip
films.
of him? Have you guys seen the clip where Tom Hanks walks into an elevator and there's a woman and her kid there, and she's like, "Look, it's Woody," and the kid's like, "No, he's not. No, he's not." And then he just literally breaks into Woody's character, and the kid's just like. It's in Pixar fashion. It's quite heartwarming to watch, actually. Hey, come on, we're talking family stuff here. Keep the smut out of it. I'm talking to myself here, by the way. Okay, yeah. So I guess it all started with Toy Story, and am I right thinking Bug's Life was next?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the next one.
I've never watched it since I was a kid.
Oh, it's worth a watch.
It's great. Yeah, it's fantastic.
I mean, the story structures, Seven Samurai, and Magnificent Seven. So it's a tried and tested sort of story structure. Yeah, definitely. And it worked great.
You listen to me, my boy. I've made a living out of being a failure, and you, sir, are not a failure.
Oh, but Flick, you've done so many good...
I mean, obviously, that was in Cahoots and At War with Ants at a similar time.
Is that Sly Stallone's Ants?
Yes, Sly Stallone.
Yes.
But
what studio did Ants? Was it?
I think
it was DreamWorks.
Okay.
I think it was, yeah.
But I always preferred
Bug's Life. Yeah. I always remember liking it. I've definitely seen Ants more, but again, the fact that you just that shows the difference between them. I feel like Ants kids at the time probably loved it, but obviously you got Bug's Life with that whole, the Seven Samurai inspiration and stuff. That was totally lost on me watching that as a kid, obviously. So I'm quite intrigued to pick that up again and just go,
I've lost you guys.
Yeah, watch it through a mature.
And then obviously Pixar went on to do the likes of Finding Nemo, which I think at the time was one of the biggest top 10 films ever made in terms of revenue.
What I was saying about A Bug's Life is I'm intrigued to watch it again because of the whole Seven Samurai angle and, it's classically inspired narrative, I guess. Completely lost on me as a kid in that regard. And again, I have definitely only seen it a handful of times. I think I want to say my initial feeling from it was this isn't Toy Story kind of thing. And it was, I don't know, I feel like it might have been a bit slower paced. I don't know why I keep looking at you. You're the animation guru.
Well, yeah. And then obviously next up, I got it wrong. No, it wasn't Finding Nemo next. It was Toy Story 2 next.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was Toy Story 2 was the next one, which is obviously Pixar's first sequel. But then I think
Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc. wasn't it?
Yeah.
Monsters Inc.
2001.
Yeah. Which I think a lot of people might think it's the favourite Pixar. I think that it's your favourite, Walshy.
Yeah, I think it is. To be fair, I think it's. I mean, you're trying to pick your best film out of
a very good,
a really exceptional list of great films. But yeah, I think Monsters Inc. for me is it's my personal favourite. I mean, I love
Yeah.
I think like the new ones I really like, don't get me wrong, they're still brilliant films. But for me, I think the first, I don't know, 15 years probably of Pixar releasing films, like feature-length films, was probably the best period for me in terms of, what they put out and,
Do you,
the films and the stories and such. And yeah, Monsters Inc. is obviously kind of
the top of
early on in that. But yeah, I think it's my personal favourite Pixar.
do you think that's because they come at us at a very impressionable age, I guess? Like from being a kid to like teenager. And again, I guess it was like a bit of a clean slate for them, really, because nobody obviously had DreamWorks and,
Yeah, that's it. I guess there was no like
like
larger expectations, and there wasn't really competing with much outside of DreamWorks. And when you're in an industry where there's a multitude of different production companies and different films being put out, so they're all competing against each other. But yeah, in the animation world, it was under really DreamWorks and Pixar, so it was hard for them to put a foot wrong, but they were still consistent in the films, and they're all original stories as well, which is incredible. It's hard to come by. Obviously, most films are inspired by other stories and other films, but by and large, they're all original stories, original characters, and they were great. I think just that first sort of 15-year period for me was just probably their best films that they've produced. They've had great films since then. Don't get me wrong.
I do think
But
as
I
well,
think that first
like
15 years.
the as well as you saying, obviously they hit us at the right age, like anything, for it to be impressionable. But I also feel like the stories, the early stories, like you're saying, obviously the first 15 years, not only did they not have much competition in animation, in that style of animation anyway, but for instance, we've mentioned A Bug's Life uses story tropes that are tried and tested. I do think the stories are timeless. Like, for instance, Monsters Inc. Obviously, that's you're going over 20 years old. So, but with my children, obviously, one's 10, one's 3, they instantly click to the likes of Toy Story, Monsters Inc., the earlier stuff more so than the later stuff. So I think they had obviously a honeymoon period, like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
They had for a while Pixar. Not that they've gone bad by any means, but obviously,
I mean, you kind of know what to expect from them a little bit now, don't you? And rightly so, because
Formulaic.
it works. And obviously, I guess of say, I don't know, around, between 7 and 10 or a bit older, this day and age, their latest releases will be their favourite Pixar films, 100%. Again, because we talk about like hitting them at the right time, that impressionable age. So they're just going to go from generation to generation. Again, it comes back to it's just the core quality of the storytelling and the themes, the timeless. Let's let's go into it and break down. Okay, what would you deem as like the most common themes that crop up in Pixar films? Like for me, obviously, I think coming of age is a huge one.
Yeah.
And I feel like themes of like parenthood and how you deal with loss, and it's all
Essentially those.
It is, isn't it? But again, in a way, it's really good skills to teach kids.
No, definitely.
And kind of, and there's a lot of like existential questions thrown in there as well.
It's not all laid out.
No.
I mean, there's stuff to think about.
Yeah. I mean, okay, for example, taking it back to Toy Story, I definitely, as a kid, cried watching that film, in the right moments. And then, lo and behold, when Toy Story 3 eventually came out, I'd imagine I'd have been in my 20s. And I was bawling like, I was 10 again. That film absolutely crushed me. And again,
that's the power of storytelling.
I imagine Dave will probably feel similar, but I'm going to bring up like parenthood and like daddy issues to a point, where Andy gives them away and all that. It's like it's just about it, and it's just so
it's real, isn't it? I think that's what you take away from them, like the real emotions. And even though they're animations, a lot of it is sort of real world examples and things that happen to people in their life, and it gives you a platform to be able to, I guess, see and understand that these things happen, whether it's happening in your own life or your friends, family's life. These things happen, and I think it's about being real and being comfortable and talking and sharing about those experiences. And I think that's what Pixar do really well with that, with the emotional side of things. When they are creating these stories and these films, they're very real and raw about real life, real world things that happen to us, and it's a good thing. It enables you to ask questions. Whether it's you as a child asking questions to your parents or your children asking questions to you. It's a really good vehicle into opening up.
Yeah,
because it's difficult. I mean, I don't. You guys know. For me, when I was younger, I didn't really open up. I didn't really talk about a lot of things. just because of the environment that it was in. But these films, I guess, they give you that outlet. Even if you wasn't speaking to somebody about it, you were able to see that these things happen and they're normal. So it was a real good outlet for your own emotions as well.
Yeah, it was those serious issues on a very accessible level for all ages, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think animation can do that. But obviously, just looking at the bare bones of it, it's animation. It's easy to watch for all ages, and then obviously it can tackle, like you were just mentioning, deep issues that we can all relate.
Now, Woody, he's been my pal for as long as I can remember. He's brave, like a cowboy should be, and kind and smart. But the thing that makes Woody special is he'll never give up on you. Ever. He'll be there for you, no matter what.
I suppose that's Pixar's core strength, isn't it? It's not just relating to kids, it's, all ages, essentially.
And to kind of bundle out and package all that into like a fun, adventure animation film, then, absolutely hats off to them, because it must be a tricky balancing act to do, and they do it so well. I think they do it better than anyone, in that kind of...
They lead the
genre.
industry,
yeah.
Definitely.
Would you guys say, again, I was thinking about this before we were recording, would you kind of class Pixar as like the Ghibli of the West?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
no, I'd say so.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody up there. I mean, DreamWorks do really good.
They do, yeah.
But there's a standard
Films,
expected of Pixar, and if I think it's more newsworthy if Pixar has a flop, a dud, because it's so unusual. They usually get the tone right on.
The only good I can think of recent time for them would be Lightyear.
Obviously, it's up to your own opinion. Yeah, I mean, certainly critically and financially, that definitely does stand out. I mean,
it's always going to be difficult, wasn't it? Especially when they're adapting an existing character in that world.
Yeah, that's
changing.
Loved.
Yeah, changing him quite
a bit
drastically, I guess, in terms of the look, of Buzz. It wasn't the Buzz that we grew up watching, right? It was kind of a more real life representative of what he was, or what he should have been, I guess.
It was
not the toy version of him,
wasn't it?
Yeah. I found it intriguing. I won't lie. The premise of it, like, obviously, that makes sense that Buzz Lightyear, the toy,
there's a real version of the toy.
Yeah. So I thought, this could be interesting. This, and then part of me was kind of thinking, Christ, where could you go with this? You could do like all the toys and what, where they originated from and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, it didn't have the right balance, and I kind of feel like the supporting cast, so to speak, weren't as memorable, as lovable as the other characters in Toy Story. Because when you think of Toy Story, the amount of characters that are in it, and you love pretty much all of them, including Sid. But there's a hell of a lot of characters in those films, and they're just universally loved by everyone. And that in itself is just that takes a lot of skill. And yeah, for me, for Lightyear, to be brutally honest, I didn't give a shit about any of the other characters in it, really. So
yeah, I think that was probably I don't know when Disney bought Pixar out, but I guess that was our first real taste of
100%
Disney getting involved with the creativity.
That line
for me, that's what that kind of like what it felt like to me. It was very much they're not, I guess, responsible or in control of what they're putting out anymore.
Yeah.
And I think I'm pretty sure I saw it recently that there's Pixar studios themselves are not going to be putting anything out anymore of themselves in terms of original stories. It's all going to be like Disney led.
Oh, right.
I think I saw that somewhere. You'll have to fact check me on that, but I think I've read it somewhere, which is a shame.
I was going to say that's a little bit disappointing to hear, really, if that's the case. Yeah. But again, it is what it is. Disney got the money to buy what they bought what they want and made deals with what they want, but everything's it's just pre-existing stuff, isn't it? It's like, let's see how we can
you can
dry the well out.
You can definitely tell Disney's really, really cracking the whip with Pixar with it. I mean, it's sequels at the minute, isn't it? It's more sequels than originals for Disney and Pixar. I mean, I think the future Pixar films, we've got Elio coming out this year, which I'm really looking forward to, just because it's so rare for there to be an original story. Obviously, we just had Inside Out 2. Yeah,
which I've still not watched.
I don't know about you, Sean, but like Inside Out for me, I think Inside Out is a brilliant film. But again, for me, the second one, it didn't have the same feel as the first one. Like, even though they were like the same characters and then some new additions, some new emotions, you didn't feel as attached to them.
Yeah,
Like, you didn't,
I
it
feel
just
like
wasn't
the
there.
concept had worn itself out. They'd done everything they could do in the first. Not that it was a bad film by any means, but it was
No. It just
definitely
wasn't the
not
same.
memorable like the first one
Yeah.
was, which, like you said, was a brilliant film. But I
Mm.
came away from Inside Out 2 going, right, I've watched it, move
It
on.
was all right.
You never
Yeah.
decided to go back.
No.
really?
I wouldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
Which I feel like Pixar are better than that.
Yes.
Or at least they have been in the past. Obviously, yeah. So sequels, I don't think are the right way forwards for Pixar.
Well,
I mean, obviously, it's so easy to do. I mean, it's not to say that they've had bad. I mean, we was talking about Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
Toy Story 4 was good. Toy Story 5
It's
due,
coming.
which I don't.
What do you think of?
I'll obviously be.
Oh, we'll watch.
Yeah,
it,
of course you would. Yeah.
But that's the point, isn't it? That's why they're making it. You'll watch it.
Yeah.
There's.
I felt this way about number 4 though, and I kind of thought, is this like the first cash in on it, so to speak? In all fairness, Toy Story 4 was very, very good. I've watched it a few times. I really enjoyed it. Again, I don't know whether it's just because we're so connected to those characters, but there was a lot in it. And no, to be fair, there's a good few additions, like Keanu Reeves. Duke Kaboom, was it?
Yeah.
And I have to say, just again on a personal note, my favourite thing about like Toy Story, and I think I want to say the director of number 3, is it Lee Unkrich or something like that? He's obsessed with The Shining, and there's just loads of Easter eggs from The Shining, like the carpet's in there. Some of the music's in, I think, Toy Story 4. I think, when they break into like is it like a charity shop, second-hand shop, where it's all stuff that there's like an old gramophone, and I think it starts playing, and it's like the music from the gold room in The Shining, and I'm just sat there in the cinema, and I'm like, just little stuff like that, and again, that shows like me as an adult taking more from those films. Like, I imagine if I go back and watch, especially Toy Story 3, and I've not seen it in quite some time, but there'll be a lot of stuff in there that just went over my head, and I'm sure it's the same with all the earlier ones. But yeah,
they do like a good Easter egg, don't they, Pixar?
Yeah, they do.
So the two memorable ones for me that I remember are the Pizza Planet truck from Toy Story. That apparently I've never took the time to actually look, but apparently that appears in every Pixar movie. Like every Pixar, like literally every Pixar movie. I'm trying to think at like what point in the Pixar, like you think of like Monsters Inc. Like where the hell was it in Monsters Inc? Where was it in Cars? Where was it in Ratatouille? Inside, where was it? But apparently it is in every one of them.
I feel like Cars goes under the radar a little bit. I genuinely really
Cars was
like
great.
the first one. I don't think I actually don't think I've seen the sequels, but yeah, I love the first one. How many is there?
Is there 3 of them?
Three, yeah.
Third one was really good,
there?
but I really didn't like the second. Cars 2 for me is the worst Pixar film. I've watched it once,
and that was it.
And it was hard.
Again, I wonder if it's a thing if they have like the difficult second film, because for me, I mean, I don't think there's a bad Toy Story film, but my least favourite or the least watched is definitely the second one. I do like it, but yeah, I don't know. It's just...
And again, is that taste? Because I know Toy Story 2 is a lot of people's favourite, isn't it? But it's my least favourite as well. To be fair, I don't know what it was. It felt like half a film.
Yeah, I
didn't feel complete. I don't know. But
me,
having said that, Incredibles 2 was much better than the first.
I agree. Am I right thinking the third's coming as well?
Yes, which is
the
new lineup of sequels.
So it'll be interesting to see how that fares as well. So you got new Toy Story, new Incredibles. I'm sure there's some of the other classics on the way, no doubt. But that's clearly Disney's
Incredibles, Toy Story.
That's their business model.
Incredibles was great.
It was.
I don't know if it was done purposely. One of the scenes in The Incredibles, with Samuel L. Jackson's character.
Yeah,
and I think he's in. Yeah. He's in his apartment. And, the big fucking giant cyborg thing, the 3-legged thing that Mr. Fantastic's fighting, like, crashes into a building next to him and it blows up. And then there's a scene in The Avengers which is basically mirroring that from Samuel L. Jackson's perspective. And I don't know if they're actually, because obviously it's Disney, right? So I don't know if they tied it in purposely, but there's a little Easter egg there as well, which is fun. Do you know the only actor as well to voice a character in every Pixar film?
Yes, it's
Sean.
I don't know the actor's name, but is it the one who plays Ham in Toy Story?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
so he's in it.
Ratzenberger.
Yeah, everyone. Is he still
Yeah,
alive?
yeah. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was in everyone.
I mean, Toy Story is only, 30 years old, so, I mean, we're still alive.
I'm sure.
Hopefully he is.
I'm sure AI will keep that going if needed. But again, to bring that into question, like everything else is just AI. But again, that's going to be huge for Pixar as well. And you know how you can push it, I don't know how they'll use that. I'm sure it'll probably make things a lot cheaper for them and a lot more efficient.
Yes. So I guess that's where you don't want them to.
Yeah.
I guess lapse a little bit because it's probably got the potential to speed things up for them, but then you don't want them to lose the quality in what they do.
I feel like as long as, well, depending on how much of a grip Disney have on them, as long as the core principles are the characters, the story, amongst anything else, take as much time as you need with that. You get that absolutely nailed on, and then it might work out good if they stick to those principles. The introduction of AI and stuff. It might just speed up. They come out more often rather than it takes 3 or 4 years to make a Toy Story film. It might be out in 2 years or something like that. Yeah, hopefully it makes it more efficient and its own benefit to it rather than just churning them out.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like the wait for a Pixar film. I kind of like it because you're not like again. I feel like I always beat on Disney a little bit, but the amount of like superhero films they churn out, if there was Pixar films out like 3 or 4 every year, I'd probably be a bit sick of them.
No, definitely.
I do kind of like that it does take.
There's too much of a good thing.
There's 100%. So yeah,
quality over quantity, 100%. So, what would we say is our favourite Pixar and least favourite?
Okay.
Obviously, you firstly, Monsters Inc.'s your favourite?
Yeah, I think so for me. Characters are great. So you've got John Goodman and Billy Crystal heading it up. That's a really good bromance that they have. They're really good buddies. So yeah, I guess that sort of, it brings you back to like your childhood and, obviously you guys as friends. So it gives you that sort of emotional connection, with it being a buddy film. And then Boo gets introduced to into the fray, and it's about them sort of trying to look after her when she comes into this crazy world and everybody's out together, and it's the jeopardy of them trying to keep her safe. So you resonate with that. They're trying to protect this little girl who's as cute as a button. The story is just really, really good.
Flat 118. Do you have 119? Do I see 120? Oh, I don't believe it!
I'm not even breaking a sweat.
Not you. Look, the new commercial's on.
The future is bright.
I think even people who didn't like kids, you can all agree that Boo is frigging cute.
Yeah, it's
So
gorgeous,
cute.
isn't it?
So in a way, Walter, are you saying there that film is kind of like if us three stumbled upon a child when we were younger, how we would deal with it?
Yeah, I always envisaged that you two would find me and I'm little baby Boo and you'd protect me.
I love it.
That's what I was waiting for.
Script on the go.
Yeah, no, but it's just it's a fantastic film.
It's virtually flawless. It's hard to find flaws in Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
it really is.
I don't think they exist.
No, I don't.
Really good antagonist in Buscemi playing. What's his
And
name?
I think
Randall.
at the time as well, the physics for the animation on Sully's hair was revolutionary for the time.
Cameo of the abominable snowman. I think it's just great. There's a lot of a lot of good characters in there. Yeah, it's just a fantastic film. I think it's just one of them that you can just watch over and over again. You'll never get tired of it. I think it's always going to bring you those sort of feels of, when you're a kid watching it, growing up as an adult, you can appreciate it in different ways.
It's all so good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, least favourite Pixar that you've seen, anyway? Or we're being too negative here? I don't know.
No, you can. Yeah, you can. I think you can say that your least favorite. I think for me, I'd probably say Inside Out too, because the first one is so good. Like it is genuinely so good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was just a bit let down or disappointed that the second one just didn't feel the same way, even though it's the same returning characters with the addition of those few new emotions that they brought in.
Yeah.
I think it was my biggest letdown.
Yeah.
So I'll probably say that's my least favourite of all of them, even though it's not it's not a bad film.
No,
It's just not.
It's
It's
not.
got nothing
well,
on
that's
the original.
testament to Pixar, isn't it? That it's not a bad
Yeah,
film.
it's just not a bad film. It's
No.
just
Their-
not
their
as good.
standards are so high. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How about you guys?
You crops.
Props?
Well, I mean, considering what I've spoke about tonight, I'm going to go in and say my favourite film is Toy Story 3 from Pixar. Again, it's just kind of, characters that I absolutely adore, and, just kind of like the situation they're thrown in, and I guess it's like a bit of, there's a coming of age element in there as well, when to see it from like the toys point of view, where it's like, oh, we don't get played with anymore. Again, it's that whole like underlining and the themes of like neglect, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, I did. Who thinks of like toys feelings? You don't, do you?
No.
And like, just the whole thing of like, oh yeah, 3 toys in a drawer, and then what happens? And yeah, I don't know. I found that angle interesting, and then the whole thing with Andy was just like absolutely heartbreaking. It's like, I don't know. Toy Story, I think there's some really good additions to it. I love, obviously, Lotto's a great villain in that. And it's in Mr. Pricklepants with Timothy Dalton. I just every time that character's on screen, I can't help but giggle. It's so charming and just silly, and it's great. There's some really great set pieces in it. I thought the animation was as expected. It's like really on point with them. But yeah, I mean, the fact that I found it a real like emotional roller coaster to bite. Like I said before, I was absolutely crying my eyes out probably about 3 times by the end of the film. I do feel like it may be slightly too long. I feel like it had a couple of endings in it, but to be fair, the one they settled on was perfect for me. That kind of, it wasn't tainted by number 4, but I definitely have my apprehensions because it ended so perfectly. And again, I feel like the kid who they introduced into it was quite charming as well, to kind of echo Monsters Inc. I can't think of a name.
Yeah.
Anyway, the little girl. And I don't know, there's just something nice of like passing on to the next generation. It was just such a really nice film, and it just filled me with joy and every sort of emotion going in a good way. I think
you come full circle. And...
I kind of felt like at the time, all right, this is also me letting go of Woody and Buzz and all those toys, and but it turned out it wasn't, because they make too much money and they'll forever be coming back. Yeah, breaking children's hearts over and over again.
Least favourite Pixar?
Least
of what you've seen?
Yeah, again, I feel like it's unfair to say A Bug's Life, but I'm basically basing this on that I haven't watched it very much and I haven't had much desire to. So I don't know. There was something that on a child's level it didn't click with me, and for some reason I haven't gone back. But I am intrigued to try it again, and I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know, if you asked me this on podcast in a couple of months' time, I'd be like, what the fucking hell was I on?
It's very fun. Like A Bug's Life is very funny. Like it is like probably one of the funnier films, I think. It's quite like outlandish and silly, and like some of the characters are just like hilariously funny. I think I can't remember the cat. What's the caterpillar's name, Sean? Like the German caterpillar. Yeah. I'm a beautiful butterfly.
You all look like ants from up here. Can't remember. But yeah, he's funny.
But it is.
And Tuck and Roll. The little
Tuck and Roll in the circus. I think they are woodlice, and then you got the flea, who's like he runs the circus, right? He's hilarious as well. Yeah, what is it, like a human? Not a human, a human cannonball or whatever. He shoots himself out of a fucking cannonball onto a spider's web. Like, just it's hilarious film.
So would you guys say that Bug's Life is kind of like a bit of an underrated gem from Pixar? Because it definitely goes under the radar.
I think it's gone on the radar, Like, people don't really talk about it. I think, other than probably our generation that grew up watching it, and obviously not you because you didn't pay much attention to it.
I wasn't done with Woody.
I think it definitely went under the radar, and again competing at a similar time with Ants.
I mean, to be fair to it, A Bug's Life was the follow-up to Toy Story, so to speak, in their release, wasn't it? So it was like it was big shoes. It was a difficult second album.
It was never going to hit the same, was it?
No. But I definitely need to go back and visit that. But I don't choose right now. I don't particularly have any like really fond memories of it, and the majority of the Pixar films that I've seen I do. That's why I'm going with A Bug's Life. I will probably be mad at myself once I've watched it. Yeah,
well, maybe you are. You stood around.
What about yourself?
Well, like I said, Cars 2 is definitely my least favourite.
Why'd you put that down to?
Well, I think the main character is Mater
Yeah.
He was
He's
the
like
secondary
Hick, isn't he?
character
Yeah.
in the first one. It's like it just didn't work him as a main character, because he's sort of there to bounce off Lightning McQueen. He's a bit more serious, and you know, you need that dynamic for it to work. So that was flaw number one. And then at the same time, it was taking itself very seriously as a spy film, rather than just having what Pixar do of you know, like a heartfelt story at its core. It was a spy film, and there was nothing in it that was Pixar for me. Yeah, it just fell completely flat. I find it very difficult to watch. I mean, I've watched it once. I watched it in the cinema. I do need to watch it again, because I've not showed it to Henry or Hugo yet. I mean, but I've showed them Cars 1, Cars 3. They love both of them.
I mean, you never really hear anybody talk about it, or it's never in any of the lists online. You know, top 10 Pixar films and all that kind of stuff. So there must be something in that.
It definitely falls flat for me.
Yeah.
My favourite Pixar. Now this changes. Monsters Inc. as Walshy's mentioned, what makes Monsters Inc. great, and then there's Ratatouille, which I think Ratatouille is another hidden gem.
Yeah, it's really good.
That no one talks about enough. But I remember before it came out, it was like 6 months before it came out, it was advertised to death, and I saw so many adverts for it, and I was like, it killed it for me. I didn't want to see it. I was like, I wasn't interested. I don't know why they hammered it home so much.
Over-marketing.
Yeah, it really was. I was like, oh, no. I mean, and at the time, it was so different from anything Pixar had done. Ratatouille, a rat controlling a man to make a friggin' meals, essentially. I was like, oh, this is like, what's Pixar doing here? And then I watched it, and I just fell in love with it. I do genuinely feel like it's an underrated gem. It's got everything that makes a Pixar film great for me.
I have a theory here as to why it may be your favourite film. I feel like the foodie that is trapped inside of you is watching and thinking, oh, wow, look at all this amazing food. It looks great. Pasta. Cheese. Yeah, exactly. Maybe some desires inside.
Yeah, maybe.
Trying to explore.
Maybe.
French cuisine.
Yeah, frog's legs and all that.
Yeah.
I try frog legs.
Yeah.
Before I try.
Yeah, they're nice. You were on about it before, Crops. I think Toy Story 3 made you cry. What Pixar film has made you cry?
Made me cry?
Yeah.
None.
No.
Not that I remember.
Maybe.
I definitely got emotional. Trying to think
Actual
now.
tears.
Okay, what's hit you hardest in the fields?
Toy Story 3, obviously, right up there. I'm trying to discern between the child me. Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc.'s right up there. Yeah. Oh yes, right at the end of Monsters Inc. where he has to say goodbye to Boo, and then right at the end where he sees her again. That's just like, in fact, that hit me harder as a grown up.
Okay.
Than it did as a kid, because it's like, oh, imagine seeing, like, I know it's not his kid, but like, the kid you love again. It's just like, God, that hits hard. There's even though it's not one of the best, A Good Dinosaur with the dad dying, pretty hardcore.
You got Up as well at the opening of that.
The opening sequence. That's one of the best opening sequences to a film. In my opinion.
I definitely cried at that. How do you feel about that film in general?
It goes off.
It does.
It goes
but
off.
That opening is. Could you argue that's the best Pixar opening they've done?
Yeah.
Probably is.
I think
for an opening, 5-10 minutes of a film.
Yeah. Oh, it's like, I mean,
it's tremendous.
I've not seen the first 10 minutes of any film that like, ripped my heart out like that. Honestly, though.
I don't know why I'm laughing.
I felt my heart beat. No, that was amazing. But yeah, I agree that about halfway through the film, with the pack of dogs and stuff and the blimp, it goes a bit, it loses itself a little bit. It's still a great film. Yeah, definitely that. WALL-E as well. It's got
WALL-E's got big time. That for me, WALL-E's probably probably second or third favourite.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Again, just the sci-fi elements and all.
Virtually the first half hour is a silent film. Isn't it? Which is unheard of.
And it's a proper throwback to like the cinema of yesteryear.
And he watches the silent film, doesn't it? Well, it's not a silent film, but the old film.
Yeah. What's it called, Hannah? I feel like it's in my notes.
What's that?
Just carry on. Yeah.
What about you, Walter? What hits you emotionally in any Pixar film? Obviously,
they're all.
I'm guessing Monsters Inc.
Yeah, but not the same. Obviously, they've all got their own emotional element. But for me, like where I physically cried was The Good Dinosaur.
I miss my family. Family. It's me. There's Libby. And Buck. And Mama. And
The scene got me when he's obviously, because you've got these two characters coming together. You've got this young lad, this young boy, and then this dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
And they've both lost their family. So he's lost his dad. Well, his dad dies, and then he's lost his mum and his sister, I think. And then this young Neanderthal kid lost his family, and they've come together. They can't communicate with each other. They don't speak each other's language, but physically they show each other like where's your family? And then like that scene where the kid, I think he pops up like 3 sticks, yeah, and then he pushes down like his mum and his dad, and it's just him.
Yeah.
Like that scene is just like, yeah, literally, like it just gets you every time. You know it's coming as well, and it's like it's horrendous because they both can't communicate with each other, but in that moment they both know that they've lost like their family. And
I feel like The Good Dinosaur is such a lost opportunity because there's so many great elements in it, and then it goes a bit flat story-wise. It just it meanders along a little bit for me personally.
Yeah,
but like you said, there's so many. The fact that it hits me emotionally, it must be good on a high level, but it could have been so much better. I mean, I remember the trailers coming out, and it was like photorealistic of the water and the environment.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I remember seeing that going, wow. But I think one of the criticisms for it was these photoreal environments, but with this sort of cartoony dinosaurs. Personally, I thought that worked really well. What didn't work for me was the story, but what many critics were criticising, I loved. The look of it, I thought was brilliant. There's a lot of good things. I think it got a little bit too much hate for what it did get. But yeah, could have been better. I don't know about you, Welsh.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree, mate. And that emotion's there, and they're both on their own journey. They found each other, but they're both still on their own journey to find their own family, and that bit resonates. And yeah, I think probably towards the end, when they're probably getting towards the end of that journey where they are looking to find their family, I think it probably teeters off a little bit. Yeah. But again, I guess it's very in Pixar's sort of form, in the way of it's kind of like a buddy movie. These two people find each other, and they pal up to get to their end goal, which is to find their own family. And you have the emotional roller coasters from the start of the film. I mean, the kid's dad's really the dinosaur's dad's really like hard on him because he's a little puny thing compared to like his older brother. But yeah, I think probably you wouldn't be wrong in saying it. I think it teeters off a little bit, but yeah, I still enjoy the film. Like I've watched it a few times, and it still hits me.
Yeah.
From that emotional aspect, but yeah, I wouldn't write it off. It's not like I said, it's a good film. It's not the worst film by any stretch of the imagination.
But going back to the bit you were saying about early on in it where they can't like understand each other's language and communicate properly with each other.
Yeah.
Again, Pixar being Pixar, they're not. It's clearly probably angled in a way of like no matter what we're all kind of in it together. We're all the same type, regardless of where we're from. What culture we're from, what background, be kind to each other. And I kind of like how like emotion is like a universal language. You can kind of, even if you don't like literally understand them, you can kind of figure out what someone's going through to a point. And, yeah. So again, it's just they're so good.
Good storytelling.
A bit about WALL-E. I guess by background, I love sci-fi. Like you Blade Runners and stuff, and there's a lot of stuff in there about that. It questions what it is to be human. And again, it's just a lot of deep emotional themes in that film.
I mean,
and there's a lot.
The opening, I was going to say, like the opening sequences of that film as well, and it's because you're exploring like humanity's left Earth, right?
Yeah.
So we've created this environment where it's no longer sustainable, but there's then still this robot carrying out its everyday task that it's been programmed to do, and even though there's nobody there for it to do the work for, it's still doing that mundane task day in and day out, crushing down the metal and putting it into blocks, and he's created this whole landscape of himself because he's been there for that long doing it. And it touches upon that, machines being left to do what they've been programmed to do, regardless of if there's actually human contact there or not. It's similar to that Russian short that I sent you on Instagram, wasn't it?
Where it just keeps doing its thing.
So it continues to do what it's programmed to do, even though there's nobody there that it's doing it for. And it touches on a lot of social things.
And again with WALL-E as well, I feel like there's obviously the character WALL-E has like a real like admiration for like the old fashioned things, everything he finds and stuff like that. And I feel like how connected he is to that and how the emotion it conveys in Wall-E himself and as I was watching it. And then you contrast that with like how ridiculous the humans are in it. It kind of says something about, it's necessary.
It's a warning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a warning, and it's necessary to look back before you move forward, that kind of thing. It's
some deep messages.
There is, yeah.
Is Wall-E more human than the humans?
Yeah, exactly. And again, that kind of falls into the whole Blade Runner thing, doesn't it? What does it mean to be human? Yeah. Completely. Wall-E's got a lot more emotion than any of the humans in that film, I think. I've not seen it in a long time, but yeah, that's pretty much summed it up for how I felt about it. And yeah, again, it's just a film that asks deep questions, and that's what they're great at doing, and I hope they continue to do that going forward.
Yeah, because you're introducing that to a younger audience.
It's all the messages in it are super important, especially for kids growing up, and also for adults. People lose their way going forward, and like look at everyone's obsessed with like the Instagram and like instant gratification and stuff, and we were fine without that. And again, to go back to that with Wall-E, it's like sometimes look back before you move forward, and there's just so much in it when you could spend hours talking about it.
Wall-E. Oh, Wall-E. Eve. Eve. Eve.
It's just about what's coming now, what's next. Obviously, we're well into this Disney era, right? Of owning Pixar.
So coming up for Pixar is mainly sequels, isn't it? We've got Elio this year, which is an original, which the trailer's out, which I think looks really fun. I think Incredibles 3 is scheduled in the next year or so, as we know, Toy Story 5, and there's another one.
Finding Nemo.
Hoppers or something like that. I don't know, rabbits. I don't know. I think it's called Hoppers, something like that. Finding Nemo, did you say?
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I feel like there is one in the pipeline, I think. Again.
Was Pixar that, right? Yeah. I think number 3 is in the works. Yeah.
Okay, then.
Another dad story, son and dad.
Yeah, another one,
so I guess there's a fair amount of sequels coming, which is, I think we're all a bit apprehensive about a little bit. So what would you guys like to see from Pixar in the future? I know for me personally, I would just like them to really keep the script and the story and the characters at its core, enduring stuff, I guess. But at the core, characters, story over anything. How does streaming affect Pixar now? Are we going to get kind of like a film and then a spin-off TV series? Because I know is the Monsters University thing on that, which apparently is pretty good.
Yeah,
they did a TV series on that. Didn't watch it.
I think it's
but I know that was it Soul and Luca? I think they didn't even get a cinema release.
Yeah, that's right. I think that was
during COVID though, wasn't there? Yeah.
But, I mean,
Soul. Right. I think Soul. I don't know if they're talking about it, but I think they're on about bringing Soul for a short theatrical release, which it deserved, to be fair. Yeah, I think it deserved it. They do like COVID films. Yeah.
Because they were great Pixar films, to be fair.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think this Disney year, it's just about, I understand the necessity of making like sequels and trilogies because they want to keep the franchise going, and it's probably easy to make money that way. But they need to continue with those original stories and keeping that great storytelling.
Needs to be a nice mix of them both, doesn't it? It's kind of like, we totally get it. I mean, I feel like Pixar, for the most part, the sequels, they will be pretty solid. I think the standard will be pretty high compared to some of the other studios. But they totally get the Toy Story 5 will probably pay for the next 3 original
exactly
animated films.
Exactly. So, if that's what we need to sort of find the balance between them making enough revenue to pay for the original stories, then so be it. As long as they keep putting them out as well as the franchises.
As long as the sequels are quality.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like we grew up with Woody and Buzz, and I loved it, and I still do. So if keep it going for future generations to also grow up with them, and so there's that element to it as well.
Yeah.
But I guess to kind of wrap it up a little bit, Pixar has given us 30 years of just absolute brilliance and some of the most
roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, some of the most emotional films I've watched. To be fair, I've probably cried over more Pixar films than I have normal films. No, I don't know actually, because I did cry a lot at films. I'm a film baby.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I like being emotional. And that includes when I'm watching some bloody straight to Netflix film and 30 minutes in, I'm like, this is fucking shit. I get very emotional at that kind of thing. But yeah, very grateful to have grown up in the era where Pixar was born. I feel very lucky
definitely.
and privileged to like grow up with these characters and stuff.
Yeah, we are lucky.
Yeah. Good on you, Steve Jobs.
Did something right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's that. Goodbye, everybody. Sorry it's been so long if anybody's listening.
Yeah, we'll make sure the next one comes out quickly.
Yeah, and I promise I'll personally work on structure because I feel like I've just hopped from film to film. And then
I think we definitely have this.
But
it's been like 6 weeks.
Yeah, we need to get back in the groove of it. But yeah, I guess that's that.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
See you on the next one.
Bye bye.